Hello everyone, welcome to Cherian's Media. Today we are kicking off a new series, Faith in Action, a place of transformation, inspiring hearts and minds through stories of courage, resilience, and faith. Again, welcome to Faith in Action. Today we have a very special guest. He is someone that I look up to, dearly love, and respect. He is an evangelist. His words have impacted me countless times. His actions have encouraged me even more in my spiritual journey. He is a loving father to 3 wonderful kids and a loving husband to a beautiful wife. He is an evangelist. Please help me welcome Evangelist Samuel Chacko, whom I dearly call Samuel.
Hello. Hi.
How are you feeling?
Good. Thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us this time.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Especially on your off day.
Yeah, no problem. Give me something to do. Yeah.
We're going to start with a very tough question.
Sure.
What do you do on your off days?
Relax. It's always on the go every day. It's kind of hard to find just time for yourself. So I'm off on every Monday.
Okay.
It helps me when everybody's off at school. Everybody's, my wife's at work. It's just great just to have some alone time. And
Is there pin drop silence in the house?
oh yeah. Until the cat starts talking, then.
Okay. Uncle, my very first question is, could you share a little bit about your childhood, a little bit about your family, and
Sure.
how they've influenced you over the years?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how detailed you want me to go. I could go all the way from my birth. Well, a lot of people may not hear this, but I was born in Maine, in the state of Maine. So we were there for a year, and then my parents moved to Chicago. So we've been in Chicago, Illinois for all of my life.
Okay.
My parents were very strong in their faith as far as I can remember. So they are actually my role models in faith. Being the oldest of 3 siblings, there were challenges with that, but we were always bickering, always fighting. But I think now, as you get older, you tend to appreciate each other more, and you tend to be there more for each other, rely on each other. So there's always hope for you young ones out there that you will become good friends with your siblings. So. Yeah.
We have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
Coming up soon.
All right.
How did you come to know the Lord?
So obviously now we go to the same church.
Yeah.
Right now, more Indian-based church. Before that, though, my parents went to an English-speaking church here in Homewood, Illinois. My other relatives, my dad's sister and her family were going to that church, so we went there. I think for pretty much my entire life. So till about 11, we came to this church when I was 11 years old, so 1993. And so when I was in there, they had something called Children's Church, where the adults go to the actual service, and then they would take the children up to a certain age. I don't remember what, and then they'll kind of minister to the young kids. They'll have puppet shows and songs and dances and all that stuff.
Did you like them?
I loved it. Yeah, I actually loved it. And one time, I think I was 6 years old when they, was talking about Jesus, and they were saying, if you want to accept Jesus, if you believe in Jesus, accept him, as your savior. So I did. Then they take you after the service to a little side room there with everybody else who has, and they'll pray for you, Okay. So I did that 4 times. I did that 4 times because I didn't understand then that you only just needed to do it once.
So the first time was when you were 6?
First time when I was 6, but it was like consecutive.
Okay.
So like consecutive Sundays, right? So the 4th time they finally realized who I was, that I keep showing up. So then they explained to me, you don't have to come back. Once you accept Jesus as your savior the first time, you are his, right? Yeah. So then they explained that to me. So I was 6 years old when I came to know the Lord. And then in this church, I got baptized when I was 13, and shortly after I got filled with the Holy Spirit by God's grace. I just been surrounded by God-fearing people that kind of kept me in line. That doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but God by His grace and mercy brought me to where I'm at today.
Were there like any moments in life where you got to know the Lord a little better and maybe even stronger?
I think there was just different parts in life. It wasn't
Okay.
like a moment.
Okay.
I think it was just. I think that's what it is, right? A Christian life is progressive, so
Yeah.
you're going to walk with God upon salvation, and then as
Okay.
you walk with God, your faith is tested. Sometimes you might come out on the better side of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might stumble in that, and as you go back and forth, God is always there. I think that's something to always to remember, that God is always there to receive you back whenever you call upon Him. To be like, God, forgive me, or help me to know you better. So was
Okay.
there one particular time? Not necessarily. I think it was progressive. So as I got to a certain level,
Yeah.
and then after I've been in that for a while, I would like maybe want to call it backslide a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would come back, and He would put me in a different level.
Okay. Yeah.
So the most challenging part, I think, for me overall in the past almost 44 years of life, was in 2021 when I had that surgery.
Yeah.
That's a whole different story, and almost died on the operating table. So just going through that process for next couple of months after that was challenging physically, challenging mentally and spiritually, but all I can say, God saw me through that.
Would you say that was a life-changing moment or?
100%. That was a life changing moment. Yeah. Um, I think He made me understand, because I've always had like, and I don't know if this is like a religious conversation here or not, right, per se, but like, I've always had that calling in my life to be in ministry somehow, some way. What that looked like, I didn't know.
Okay.
But I think this helped me to focus more within it in more intense uh, purpose investigation on what that would look like in my life. So I think that kind of helped me to uh, pursue that more and to kind of understand what that meant more. So
If we were to maybe travel back in time and go back to your childhood, right, were there moments that you remember where you started going a little bit more in your faith or where you wanted to dive a little deeper?
yeah, so I think that's kind of funny because I always said that the English church that I went to had a great Sunday school. So as I was learning, going through that system and learning those basic biblical stories, I want to say I learned a good, solid background in Bible stories, right?
Yeah.
When I came out of that, and then when I came to this church, those became a little bit more in depth. I got a little more in depth in the teachings that I've received, in the preachings that I've heard, in the Sunday schools that we went through in our church,
Yeah.
and then through that process, also in my own personal study. Like I said, I've always been, um, wanting to go into ministry somehow, some way. So I always went into the Word of God. When I was in it,
Yeah.
and then there are times where you put it, like I think I shared a testimony. There was a time where my Bible was in the car for 20 years,
Yeah.
right, and I never really opened it. So like that's a different story.
You
So
got a
like
little emotional that day when you
I
said
did, yeah, I
that.
did, yeah. I mean, because now it means more, like actually understanding what it means to go into the Word of God and understanding, like you get to know our God, you get to know God better, and that's why I'll always advocate for that. You know, yeah.
Anything, probably, let's shift to middle school, high school,
Hmm.
college days. How did that change from Sam Uncle as a child and as you progressed over
Like
to
how did
college?
those things influence me?
Yes, in your faith
Oh, in
currently.
my faith.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, elementary school. So I was always a child that wasn't aware of myself, right? And I think I shared that couple Sundays ago. Like
Yeah.
I was very oblivious to who I was. Like I just lived life. Like I didn't care about anything around me. I think up to 11 or 12 years old, I was like that.
Okay.
So elementary school was basically like that. Just went, did whatever I had to do, come back. Wasn't really was very oblivious to everything. So as I came to high school, though, so we moved in freshman year. After freshman year, I moved to high schools, right?
Okay.
So the new high school I went to was a total culture shock. So one high school was in freshman year, my whole high school and junior high school was all one type of ethnicity.
Okay.
And then when I went to the different high school from sophomore onwards, it was a whole opposite, like different, ethnicity. So then as it was just a culture shock. And then now there's more of us, right?
Yeah.
There's more Indians, more brown people in school now that I see, more people migrated this way and whatever. So before, like in high school, from sophomore, I was like maybe one of three colored people in school. So that was kind of awkward. I was also in an awkward stage. It just imagine thick glasses, braces, and all that stuff, right? So like, and then I'm a very shy guy, very shy kid. So all of that went against me making high school the best it was. But what that taught me was that God was always there for me. I mean, it really did. It taught me that I didn't have to look at anybody else. I depend on God. So as I took those life experiences, God taught me more dependence on Him. Yeah, through that. So I think that's how it kind of helped me in my spiritual life to grow in God. Because I think that's one of the hard things everyone has to do is to learn to depend on God. We all look at our ability. We all look at, our circles and our situations. If we have friends that we can always rely on, parents, then it's kind of hard to trust in God because we always have a plan B to fall on, right? Even though God's plan A, we don't think about plan A. We think about plan B. So, but when you start growing up, or when you start, going different aspects in life, different branches in life, and you become more independent, God starts teaching you how to depend on Him. I think that those are important lessons. The sooner you learn that, the better. So
I maybe a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure those who are still in school, they're in the summer vacation. When you were challenged, what was one thing that encouraged you to keep going when you were moving from one high school to the other with the culture shock?
One thing that made me go, I think it's just my faith, my willingness to live.
Just keep going.
Just keep going, right? Like again, like I'm coming from an oblivious state to like all of a sudden becoming aware of myself, aware that I'm by myself, or aware that I don't have friends in high school, or that and that actually helped me. That actually went against me with my studies because I couldn't really focus on my education because I was just so worried about all that, but I think it's just something inside of me just motivated me just to push, just to continue, because there's always something better, right? Even though that was the case, even though that was my life, I didn't think I gave much credence to it to where it distracted me from going forward. I know a lot of people, like that's their whole thing. You look around, and I think that's one of the things I would like to share to everybody is that we should not compare ourselves to anybody. We are all individuals. God created us all with specific characters, specific temperaments, right? And everyone's different. So we should not compare ourselves to the jock or to the straight A student or to people with big circles, of friends. Like we are who we are. We are in a situation. How do we make our situation better? How do we make, and that goes for any situation, whether you're in the workforce, whether you're in a church, whether you're in a family, how do I make my situation better? How do I make it, how can I be better in this situation? How can I make others better in that situation, right? So I think that's an advice I could give to people.
What if you do get distracted? How to get back on track?
Prayer. Prayer is the thing. I mean, we are, this is our life, right? God is our life. So prayer is the only one, because that's the only way we can learn the dependence, learn to depend on God. It's hard. It's not an easy thing. It's easy for me to say it, right? And then to live it and then say it after. But for those that are going through it, it is a hard situation to bring yourself back. It's so easy to go within ourselves, go within our minds and our emotions.
Yeah.
But in all reality, if you look at high school, it's only 4 years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at junior high school, it's only 3 or 4 years of your life. After that, you go to college, whole new set of friends, you know. And even then, depending on how studious you are, you probably just focus on your studies. There's no time for that, you know. And then after that, you're looking for the next steps. You got your workforce, and it's much easier to make friends in your workforce, and because you see them every day, but you're focusing on one goal. In high school, you're all in individual goals, right?
Yeah,
Let me get my report card. Let me make sure everything's great. Let me succeed in the sport or whatever it might be. But in the workforce, you're all focusing on one goal to produce something that's benefit for the company you're in, obviously, you know, and then to get that paycheck and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's a little bit easier when you're in the workforce to make friends. So I know it's hard for me to sit here and tell everybody, you know, just pray, but that is the best thing you can do, you know, because if you could get yourself on your knees and just cry out unto God and let Him know all your needs, right? All the worries, all the emotions, and it just tests God. God will show up. God will show up. And then alternatively, if you cannot find your way to that path, try to find someone that can. I think a lot of people are ashamed to admit that. But if we could find someone that we can trust, we can, you know, share that aspect of our life, you can find help in other people, right? We just have to be able to open ourselves and be vulnerable.
That would make it easier.
That would make it easier. You know, at least you have someone else to encourage you, someone else to pray with you, someone else to give you some guidance, some direction. Um, so I think a lot of people just stay within themselves, like I did. I stayed within myself. So it was a struggle those 3 years. But if I had somebody, I can maybe not in school, but I can, you know, if I trusted someone at church, or if I, you know, then I could have, you know. But that was the other thing too. I came to church and I had friends, so that kind of, you know. But still, school's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, Uncle. The exciting segment
Okay.
Of our chat today.
All right.
The rapid fire round. We're gonna get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
First question. What was your favorite Bible verse growing up?
Once I became aware of it, Isaiah 53 verse 5. Let me read it. Because, yeah, let me read it. Don't ask me why I didn't memorize it. I do memorize it. I just want to get it right. Isaiah 53 verse 5. But He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon Him, and by His stripes we are healed. Yeah.
Might be a silly one. Favorite color?
Blue.
Nice. Is spring the best season?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, I mean, I like all seasons, but my favorite season is fall.
Really?
I love wearing long sleeves, throwing on a sweater or, you know, jacket. I love the different atmosphere fall brings.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely not agreeing to that. Favorite sport?
Basketball.
What do you think is the GOAT?
I'm not a stats type of person. I'm not like a fanatic. I played a lot in my younger years. I did follow it a little bit. Now I'm just so busy to even watch a game, which I regret. You know, I wish I had some time. But growing up, it was always Michael Jordan. I know that's a cliche or that's just a typical answer, but he was entertaining to watch. Even now, you just go back and watch it. You know, like there's, I don't think anybody compares to him. Second would be Kobe Bryant, and yeah, I mean, I think those are my top two. LeBron, I'm not going to comment on that right now.
Oh my god!
So
we might get a few comments.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Which Bible version do you prefer?
Bible version, New King James Version. So the reason is, I think I should explain that.
Yeah.
So, New King James Version is a modern verbiage on the King James Version, obviously, right? Yeah. So instead of thou, it's you, and such things. But what I like about New King James, it's a word for word translation of the original language, versus something like New Living Translation. It's a paraphrase, gives the idea of what the verse is. So my second go-to would be the New Living Translation, the NLT, because I do like how that explains, make you a little bit more easier to understand.
Yeah.
But why I like New King James Version, especially coming from a ministry background, in a teaching background, right, as far as the scriptures, is that there are words and nuances you will miss in paraphrases. So there's words that they will repeat because in the original language it might have said something in Genesis, which it'll bring up back up in the Psalms, which then it'll bring back up in the New Testament. And if you don't have that word for word translation, you will miss that nuance. It'll just become just reading things, which I think then we miss a connection.
Okay.
And the Bible's got thousands of connections.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You get a chance to spend the weekend with a person from the Bible other than Jesus. Who would it be?
So that's a hard one, obviously. So right now I'm currently studying Moses. So Moses probably would be my top one, because there's a lot of things that happen in Moses' life that I would just love to witness and see, right? From all the plagues, not to live through it, but just to see it, right? If I could be isolated from all that.
Aerial view.
The aerial view, right? Put me on a mountain, I'll watch from there, right? To seeing God come down on the mountain, right? To see the tablets being written, right? Seeing the Red Sea part, just to see all the different miracles in the wilderness, right? Just all of that, the burning bush, right? Just all of that would be incredible to see, I think. The second, so I have a top three.
Okay.
So the second one will be Samuel, because that was named after Samuel. So I would love to see his life and how he was. And then Elisha probably be the third one. So,
is there like a particular question you would ask them first thing when you see them?
No, I don't think I would have a particular question. I just would be like, I just want to see, like,
to see them.
I think I'll have 1,000 questions once I live through it. But yeah.
Okay. All right, this is a fun one. Is there a Malayalam word that confused you as a kid?
So the whole language confuses me. Right? It did when I was younger, right? We were never taught. My parents never pushed us into learning the language, good or bad, whatever, however you want to take that. But obviously being in this church, right, I've learned a lot. I've learned to understand it a lot. So that's that. But the one word that tripped me up so bad, and I'm probably going to butcher it, is how do you say? Well, you can say. How do you say? Oh, now I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
English translation.
Is anything going on in Malayalam? Like you meeting someone, oh, how's everything? All right, is everything going on?
You say, Sugano. Okay, that's how's good. How are you doing?
So with the V, it's not like the. I have to think about it. I'm just losing. Bina knows the story.
What was the English translation again?
I think it's like, how's everything going, or any news?
That's our
Vishesham.
Oh,
that's the one.
Vishesham. Okay.
Right.
Vishesham is news. Any good news.
Any news, right? So I took that as okay. Anything new, right? So when we got married, right? Right? Like that week, we called her family from India, and they asked, Vishesham, and I said, one day, right? There is. When that actually alternatively means, do you have any baby, right? Or do you get pregnant or anything?
Yeah.
So I screwed that up big time.
Oh my God.
So that confused me a little bit. Okay. I think I learned now just to not assume things anymore.
Well, after marriage, that term
but not
has a different meaning.
But not the first week though. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there a dream or goal you envisioned as a kid and now achieved it?
No. So, again, like I was ministry minded, so like obviously this is right on the dot, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm, by God's grace, I'm in that right now. So, so am I happy where I'm at? Is my dream being fulfilled? Yes, it is. Yeah. Anything else in that? No. I was a weird kid, so like like I said, I was unaware of myself, so I was.
It'd be nice if your siblings kind of join in, chime in, and say,
If what?
if your siblings came in, Uncle and Chichi came in.
Yeah. That'd be,
Favorite Indian dish?
upamave
Really?
is my favorite. My
With-
comfort food.
With what?
Banana, just banana.
Oh,
Has to be banana.
wow.
I know. After getting married, I found out you could eat that with other things.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah, no.
That's
I
nice.
specifically that and banana.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Okay. Favorite dish that Amachi makes?
That.
Okay.
Upamave. She also makes good palapum and chicken curry.
Oh,
So I like that. Yeah.
okay.
So I like that. Yeah. Okay. Lasagna too. That's my favorite. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer to the next one.
What's the next one?
Favorite dish that B90 makes?
No. Because when at home I make the lasagna.
Really?
Yeah. At home I make the lasagna. So
the secret's out.
Yeah. The favorite meal I like of hers is she makes this Alfredo chicken with rice and mushroom with like a mushroom rice or mushroom sauce, something like that. So it was
creamy
like
mushroom.
Creamy mushroom. It's not even creamy mushroom. It's Alfredo.
Nice.
But it's like with mushrooms, and it's delicious. It's delicious. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, this was the follow-up question to something you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What is the silliest thing you fought for or argued with your siblings about?
Oh my goodness, there's so many fights. There's not a specific thing I remember because there were so many fights. Nothing. It was as silly as like you're touching me, like stop touching me, or who's what show are we watching on TV and stuff, just silly things like that.
Fight over a remote.
Yeah. Fight over the remote. Yeah.
Do you remember? Were you guys fighting with hands or
Yes.
just with words?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So got a lot of scratches from my sister.
Oh.
Pinches. She was a pincher, so I got a lot of that. Yeah. My brother, not so much because he's 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
So there was a big, as you grow, from younger to older, there's a big difference in age, right? And mannerisms and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when you're all adults, everybody's the same. So it doesn't matter.
You guys still talk about it? About this one?
No, not often. No. I think we've overcome all that. So.
All right. Can you share an incident where Appachan or Amachi gave you an adi or scored you for something?
Again, I got the most adi in my whole family.
Really?
So yeah. So my brother barely got touched.
Wow.
barely got spanked, and then my sister,
the other way around.
The youngest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not here. Sure. No, I got the most. And no specific because I know math was my horrible worst subject. So when they're trying to help me with my math homework, that was a big expectation of getting Uddies.
If you were to pick and choose at that point,
Yeah.
would you want an Uddy from Appachan or Amachi?
Nobody, because they both really.
Oh, wow.
They both really gave. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a Bible verse you understand differently now than you did as a child?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a hard one because there's a lot of verses that you understand differently as you grow older, as you study, right?
Yeah.
I guess let me just go for one everybody knows. Psalms 23 verse 1, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You understand that more as you, again, like I said before, when you become independent and you depend on God, right? When you're forced to depend on God, when He teaches you, when you become aware of that, you understand what that really means. When you have a family, you got bills to pay, you got to work, your child gets sick, like all the different things, when you get sick, right? Yeah. Like, it gives a deeper meaning to that verse.
So over time,
and it's still a learning process. Right?
Okay. What is the best advice you have received from your parents?
I'm going to paraphrase it because it's just different things throughout life. But not every smile is genuine. Not every smile is genuine.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. Not every smile is genuine.
I got it.
Yep.
All right. What does family mean to you? It's related. What does family mean to you?
Oh, family's everything. I believe that is your first school. that is your first teacher, is your family. You learn a lot of things in your family, right? Even if you're a single child, you still learn. If you're, a house full of kids, or your parents, you learn a lot of things just through life in those first 18, 20, 30 years you're at home, right? You learn a lot. Even now, you still learn, But
Yeah.
but family it's everything, because you learn a lot of things about life, and no matter what happens, family should have your back. Family should be there for you. Um, yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Actually, that's a whole new different video we could have.
Okay.
Yeah. I have an
New
idea.
video coming up.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite Christian song?
I don't have one.
Really?
I don't have a favorite Christian song because.
Well, actually, let's break it down. Well, favorite song when you were a kid, and maybe later in life.
I love music. Like, I listen to a lot of music, not just Christian music. When I was even younger and backslidden, I listened to a lot of different type of music, right? But I don't have a particular Christian song. But now that I'm thinking about it, let me see, pull it up on my makeshift notebook here, songbook here. If I find it, I'll let you know. I don't know. Can't remember the title of it.
Is there one that's constantly in your head right now? Maybe for the past few days.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. We'll come back to the question later.
You can come back to the question. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Because
we can take a minute.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to find it. But no, I don't. Because I sing all the songs. I'm not a great singer, but when I do sing, right? When I sing in my personal prayer time, right? You take all of that, whatever the song is, and I make it mine, and I pray that to God, right? That's what we should be doing. So when I do that, they're my words, so they become my song. So when they become my song, then it comes from my heart. Like, there's nothing. I don't have a particular one, because I can relate to every single one of them, right?
So turning a prayer into a song. Is that
prayer into a song, or a song into a prayer? Turning a song into a prayer. So, like, I could take, like, I don't know, like Amazing Grace, right?
Yeah.
We could all relate to that, but we should not just sing it. It should be our experience singing that out to God, right?
Yeah.
That's how He delights in our singing. So that's whatever song. If you name a song, I could make that into my experience and sing that to God, and then make it my own. So that's why I don't have a particular favorite song.
Okay.
So.
Is there a favorite hymn?
Oh, favorite hymn? Okay, well, then I guess I could say, This Is My Story, yes.
Blessed Assurance.
Blessed Assurance, yeah. Sorry.
Right. Your 3 a.m. friend, someone who picks up your call at any time. Could be family, too.
Again, this is cliche. God. I have to say that. No, because that's the case, right? I cannot deny that. But Bina would be the person.
Other than Bina and T.
Oh, there's nobody. Yeah.
All right. What is your life motto?
Ooh, that's a hard one. What's my life motto? Okay. Respect is given and not earned. And let me modify that. Respect is given and then earned. Yeah. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, you have to earn my respect."
Yeah.
No, I think that's a wrong statement. That's so self-absorbed. We're all human beings, so we should first and foremost treat each other like human beings.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are, right?
Yeah.
So that means that you have to give that respect to people, and then it's earned, meaning like it's up to your relationship with that person to maintain that respect. That person should maintain that respect, but then they do something, unfortunately, you might lose that respect or that level of respect, and my relationship might look different, or that towards that person. But first and foremost, every meeting should be given respect, right? And then earn it. Yep.
All right. Final question.
Okay.
Chocolate chip, the best ice cream flavor.
No.
Okay, which one is it?
No, I mean, I will never turn away a bowl of chocolate chip ice cream. I do. This is plain, but I do love vanilla ice cream. because I could top it off with all different types of stuff.
That is true. That is very
I could
true.
top it off with all different type of stuff, and it can make it whatever I want, right?
That is very true.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. That is the end of the rapid fire round.
All right.
We're moving on to questions.
Okay.
Next few questions. A challenging season that you would like to share with us, where God led you through it.
I would have to then refer back to 2021 when I had the knee surgery.
Yeah.
And I basically had a severe allergic reaction to the anesthesia, right? And almost passed away on the table. So after that, basically, like, without going too detail right now, had no strength in my muscles and was in the hospital for 8 days trying to make sense of everything, and then trying to recover, and to try to bring my temperature down. So they laid me in an ice bed, basically, and just all different things like that. Tests I had to go through. Yeah. So it was a tough time. Then the recovery after that, not only did I recover from that, the effects of that allergic reaction, but then my knee also, just a routine knee surgery, just coming out of that and trying to get that back to work. So I think through all of that, and then the purpose of it all, like, why did I go through that? So I think through that, God, again, I depended on God. I trusted in God. So as I did that, and I sat in prayer with Him through those recovery months, right, He actually spoke to me. I heard His voice, and He gave me clear direction on where to go. I think it was more of a catching me and say, now is the time to be serious about this, and don't just wait anymore. Like, so.
What was the recovery process harder, or the moments that you had during that first process of the procedure?
I think the worst part of the whole thing was the 8 days in the hospital. That was, so that, in that aspect, the recovery process was hard. After that, it was just getting back strength. I was home, and then going through PT. It might not look like it now, but I love to exercise. I exercised back in the day a lot, so that physical therapy was like a HIIT training type of thing. So it was pretty good, so I liked that. So I was challenged by that. But I think the first 8 days was hard as far as that recovery.
Do you remember any questions that you asked God during that time?
Yeah. So, like, again, not going too much into that, because I feel like that's a whole different video if you wanted to, right? That would be, when I came out of that, when I woke up, because I was in a coma for hours, right? For at least 24 hours. So when I came out of that, I asked God why, and through my brother, he came and told me that, I wanted to grab your attention. I want to talk to you. I want you to take this more seriously. So that was my question, and he answered it within that hour. Wow. So, yeah.
Is there any other thing that you want to share through the story, in case?
No, I just think that we go through different things in life because, and we question why, right? We always question, why do I have to go through the struggle, or why do these things happen to me or to my family? A lot of times we say we go to God with it, but we don't 100% really devote our time, our mind, everything to God. We don't really submit everything to God, and I think that is an obstacle a lot of us have. When we actually sit down in brokenness to God, God will answer. That is a fact. That is a fact. So I've experienced it. I know a lot of people have experienced it. But when we actually sit down in prayer and with a broken heart and cry out to God, pushing everything else aside, right?
Yeah.
Right. God will answer. So I think that's a message I want to just give everybody, a little hope there. Like, don't just stay in your mind, because a lot of times when we stay in our mind, that's the devil can deceive us and tell us different things and influence us in different ways, right? Other than that, he has no power over us, so he can deceive us and try to trick us into different thought processes. And we stay here and don't look up, then we will stumble or we will be stuck. But when we start looking up and crying out to God and confessing all of those, even those sinful thoughts, even that anger, even the sadness, even the doubts to God, God will show up. I believe God showed up for Job. I know. So I believe that, and I've experienced it. So God will show up. You just have to confess it all to God, submit it all to God.
What's something you wish more people knew about you or about your faith?
Um, I think everything. A lot of people say, even at work, like I got this hard shell, right? I have this hard shell, so a lot of people I have here, I'm scared to talk to him, or I don't want to talk to him, or whatever like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like I'm very genuine in what I do. Like, so if this wasn't a question, but like I work as a security guard in the hospital, so I have to have a certain demeanor, a certain look, and that carries on in my life. I've done it for 17 years, so that's part of me. That's part of my nature. So as I am going outside of that, that's a dove. Yeah, so as I go outside of that, right, I carry that with me. So I think a lot of people just see that and don't understand I'm really a softie on the inside, right? Very genuine in my intentions.
Yeah.
So I want the best for everybody, and I want to be the best for everybody. So I think that's why people don't understand.
So letting the world know
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Is there a short message on your heart that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I think with society the way it is now, everything is put out there on social media. Everything is every aspect of everyone's life is being put out, right? I think it's so easy for us to get wrapped up in other people's business, other people's lives, other people's situation, and not understanding actually what's going on in the background, right? Even now, there's a lot of things going on in the background in this video, right? Which, when once edited and once put out, glamorized and put out there, right? We see one thing, but we don't see the stuff that's going on in the background. We don't see the struggles it took or the problems that came up, right? So my main message to anybody is to not compare yourself with anything you see out there. Do not compare yourself. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
I think then that's what brings a lot of people to where am I at in life? Why is my life not like this? Why is my family not like this? Why is my wife not like this? Why is my husband not like this? Why are my children not like this? Right? So we compare a lot of things to everything we see, and when in all reality, and I'll bring it back to this again, we're all individuals created uniquely in the image of God. So as God created us in that individuality, and you bring two individual people together, and then they produce another individual that's different, right? And multiple individuals that's different. You're going to create something. You're going to have something in a family that's different from the next family. So we should never compare, right? Everyone's got their own struggles. Everyone's got their um, own things that they go through. And if we start comparing, then we'll be lost in their lives and we'll forget about what we need to do in our lives. So my request, my message for everyone is to always look within your family. What can you do to make your family better? Don't look what other members in your family can do for you. What can you do for somebody else in your family to make your situation better, your family life better, your marriage better, your relationship between your siblings better. Um, and then allow God to speak into your life, allow God to correct you. Um, be open to hear God's correction. We're not all perfect. We're not all got it all together, right? So the only one we can really trust to tell us, hey, you're doing that wrong is God. So let God speak to your life and open up your ears and your heart to hear it. And what can you do to be better for your family instead of why is my family not like this because my neighbor looks different, right? They might be a little bit better. And then this way that'll bring you out of being in your mind. That keep you out of being in your emotions, right? Your emotions are real, but they can be deceptive at times too. And if you haven't realized that yet, I'm a Christian counselor too, so I'm coming from that background, describing that. So, yeah.
We're coming to the end
Okay.
of our interview. Final question, Samuel, what's the next goal you are dreaming of and preparing for?
That's kind of a hard one because again, I live by life. You have goals, but they're not really. When you depend on God, it's fluid.
Mm.
Life is fluid, right? When you depend on God, you have to go with God. You don't just say very rigid. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing because life doesn't work that way. So when God says to go, you go. When God says to turn, you turn. When God says to do this, you do this, right? So my goal right now, I'm in the ministry now by God's grace. As an evangelist, I'm in school, to get my master's of divinity. So I'm working on that. Hopefully, by God's grace, that'll be done in a timely manner. And then whatever God holds after that, it's up to Him. I'll just follow, right? So.
And Uncle, I learned a lot today.
Oh.
I think that has encouraged me. I learned a lot of lessons, taking away a lot of points. Thank you so much for giving us this time.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah. Anytime. Yeah.
I hope it's a blessing for everyone, as it was for me. Hopefully, we have a new video coming up soon.
Oh, hopefully. Yeah.
And we hope to hear more from you too. Sure. So thank you so much for joining with us today. I hope you have had a blessed time hearing Sam Uncle share his story. And I hope you all have a blessed day. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.